We got a top 20 matchup in the Pac-12 as Oregon State hosts Utah. Steve Bartle of Ute Zone and Angie Machado of Beaver Blitz joining me to break this one down. This series dead even at 12-12-1 with Utah's last road win against a ranked opponent coming all the way back in 2020. So let's start with the quarterbacks in this one. Steve, we saw Cam Rising warm up before the UCLA game. He ultimately did not play as he's working his way back from the ACL injury. When do you expect to see him back on the field?
Yeah, the latest on Cameron Rising is that he started to split reps with the first team offense in practice, which he was not doing through fall camp and through the first 3 weeks of the season. So all indications suggest that he is close to returning to action. As you mentioned, Grace, he was warming up before the game in shoulder pads before he took them off for the game, which, was a little surprising, as many believed that UCLA would be the game that he would return. But he didn't. He wasn't available for Utah in that game. But all indications, as I said, are that he is very close to returning to action, and that could even be this Friday against Oregon State.
Well, in the meantime, freshman backup Nate Johnson has been turning heads under center. He took the job from Bryson Barnes. Now, as a threat in both the passing and ground game, what does this matchup look like for Johnson?
Yeah, for Johnson, it's been, an up and down 2 games for him. He's started the last 2 games. He's completed 63% of his throws for 398 yards, 2 touchdowns, and most importantly is that he hasn't turned the ball over, which is all Coach Whittingham and his staff are asking of him at this point, considering the defense that they have on the other side of the ball. He's a big part of the run game, and it's clear that he needs some development as a passer. He's made some great throws, but he's also made some poor ones. So just that, it's expected for a young quarterback at his stage. He's a former 4-star quarterback in the 2021 cycle. He just needs a little bit of work, and this experience has been super valuable for him. He's been learning a lot, and expectations continue to grow for him, particularly with this matchup against Oregon State.
Now on the other side, former Clemson quarterback DJ Uiagalelei hoping to get some new life breathed into his college career, transferring to Oregon State. But Angie, before we get to his play on the field, how have you seen his experience and leadership kind of impact the rest of the team this season?
Oh, he manages himself as a true professional. And what I love watching with him is the fact that he carries himself so even keel. He is a leader in the huddle. He's a leader off the field on the sideline, helping young Aiden Childs, the true freshman backup. He's constantly, Oregon State had a 2-touchdown deficit at Washington State, led a comeback. His 2-minute drill was something just beautiful watching. Just because he kept his poise, he was able to make the throws and get the guys in the huddle settled down.
Now looking at his play on the field, his hot start to the season, definitely one of the feel-good stories. But since then, he's struggled over the last 2 games, completing just over 50% of his passes with 3 interceptions to 2 touchdowns. How confident are you DJU gets back on track here in Week 5?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. The first couple games, he had tons of time in the pocket, was able to make his reads. Past couple games, I think he's over the season right now, 57%. But like you said, 3 interceptions over the past 2 games. He really needs to get that passing game under control. He missed a couple throws. He missed a couple reads, wide open reads against Washington State. So that's going to be big. Oregon State will rely heavily on the run game, but they can't be one-dimensional against Utah, and they're going to have a downfield presence if they're going to compete with the Utes.
Right. It'll definitely be a challenge for him against this Utah defense, which ranks top 10 in the total defense, one of just 6 units nationally allowing fewer than 10 points a game. Steve, what's working so well for the Utes right now?
Yeah, this defense has been pretty darn good through 4 games this season. And it's not that they're beating up on lower level opponents. They limited Florida, Baylor, and UCLA to a combined 31 points in those 3 games. They're number 4 in scoring defense. They're on the cusp of the top 10 in sacks. They have 14 so far this season. They have 5 interceptions, including 2 pick sixes. And really, this defense has played phenomenally well because of the buy-in with these players and doing what these coaches are asking of them each and every week. There have been adjustments to the game plan and what they're being asked to do. And the players have done a fantastic job of buying into what they're being asked and it's paid off with just a tremendous performance through 4 games.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing I love about this matchup is that Oregon State's offensive line is the strength of the offense. So this is a huge matchup going against Utah's defensive front. Oregon State's offensive line is a veteran group led by center Jake Levengood, or right guard. He moved from center, and then left tackle Joshua Gray. These guys have tons of starts, 4-year starters, each of them. And this is going to be, I think, the key of the game and watching is can Oregon State's offensive line be as stout as they've been over the past 3 or 4 years in not only protecting DJU, but also opening up those holes in the run game for the Beavers.
O-line is where it all starts. Let's talk about one guy who could be the X factor, the difference maker in this game. Angie, who are you watching?
I'm watching Silas Bolden, wide receiver. Oregon State has a couple really small, shifty wide receivers. The 5'9", 5'10" guys that can just run the back end. But Silas is quick. He reminds me a little bit of Brandon Cooks, for those that remember. But Oregon State's going to need to get him the ball in space. Look for them to run some fly sweeps, some slants, some screens. Get him involved where he can get the ball in space and make plays with his legs, because he's fast, and I expect a big game from him this week.
And for Utah, I think Cole Bishop is the guy that I'm keeping my eye on in this game. He's one of the leaders of the defense and the team overall. He plays the game with just a tremendous tenacity. He leads the team in tackles. He's top 4 in tackles for loss and sacks. Against Florida, he led the team in tackles with 11. Against Baylor, he had the game-altering interception late in the 4th quarter. And he's just been all over the field. And against Oregon State, with this run game and their willingness to incorporate the tight end position, that's going to be key for Cole Bishop. That's going to be a big factor for Cole, is playing a role against the run and also limiting these tight ends in the passing game as well. So I'm looking for Cole Bishop to have another big game this season against the Oregon State Beavers.
All right, Angie and Steve, thanks so much for your insight. And for more, be sure you check out UteZone and BeaverBlitz.com for the best coverage on Utah and Oregon State football and recruiting all season long.